Good morning, everyone. I'm Errol Barnett. At this moment, we're following breaking news for you. A Russian-American woman has just been freed from a Russian prison as part of an apparent prisoner swap with Moscow. Ksenia Karolina is a ballerina who was living in California. She's been detained for more than a year. Michael George joins us now here in Studio 57 with more on this. This breaking overnight, Michael. Good morning.
Yeah, a lot of this just unfolding now. Errol, good morning to you now. CBS News spoke with Karolina's lawyer. He confirmed her release and told us she got on a plane from Abu Dhabi at around 3 a.m. Eastern. Now, it's not clear where in the U.S. she's headed just yet, but we're not expecting to see her until at least tonight. A flight from Abu Dhabi to Washington, D.C. is about 14 and a half hours long. Now, in the last prisoner swaps we've seen, the plane has stopped to meet the president and other officials. But Karolina lives in Los Angeles, and that flight takes more than 19 hours. Now, Karolina was arrested in Russia last year. She was visiting family. Authorities took her into custody over a donation of about $50 to a humanitarian group that was helping Ukrainians impacted by Russia's invasion. Karolina pleaded guilty to treason in a Russian court and received a sentence of 12 years. Her boyfriend talked to CBS Mornings on the day of her sentencing last August.
Let me paint this picture because this whole trial is bogus. Her being sentenced to 12 years, I'm trying to make sense of this. She's an American citizen that made a $51.80 donation as an American citizen in Los Angeles, exercising her First Amendment rights. She has done nothing wrong.
And Secretary of State Marco Rubio posted on X early this morning saying in part, quote, she was wrongfully detained by Russia for over a year and President Trump secured her release. Now, we're working to get more information on this story. And Errol, we're going to bring that to you all day on CBS News 24/7.
All right, Michael, thank you very much for that. Let's jump over to Berlin now. Washington Post reporter Mary Alushina covers Russia and has more on this for us. Mary, good morning to you. What more can you tell us about Karolina? This apparently is all over a small dollar donation, and the other person released by the U.S., Arthur Petrov.
Yeah. Good morning. Yes, she was detained, as far as we know, from Russian officials when she was trying to visit her family in Russia at the border. The guards checked her phone. They found a small donation to a Ukrainian fund, and that was enough to start a case against her for treason because she's a dual Russian-U.S. National. And she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. She was one of the remaining Americans in Russian custody. And now she's been released. And in return, Russia got Arthur Petrov, who is a dual German-Russian national. He was detained in 2023 in Cyprus for allegedly exporting microelectronics that were of dual military purpose. And that was sort of the result of the swap, and that's the second swap we've seen between Russia and the U.S. under Trump. As we know, Mark Fogel, a U.S. teacher, has been released several weeks ago as well. That's like a second high-profile swap the two countries have seen.
And so considering that, Mary, the second swap under the Trump administration, what might this mean in terms of thawing relations between Washington and Moscow and the prospects of securing a ceasefire deal in Ukraine?
Well, this swap happens on the same day as U.S. and Russian delegations are meeting in Turkey for talks. The talks are led by the new Russian ambassador to the United States, Alexander Tachiev. And those talks not specifically or directly about Ukrainian deal, Ukrainian ceasefire. They're more to do with the wider, broad scale of Russian-U.S. relations. They're trying to restore diplomatic missions. And these kinds of things have been portrayed by the Russian officials as sort of gestures of goodwill to improve, or as they say, normalize relations with the United States, because according to them, they're at the lowest point in many, many years. So this is, again, through the prism of Russia trying to use this negotiation process, this potential peace process, to really get back in communication with the United States and try to, get a better deal for themselves in general.
All right, we'll see what comes from that. Mary Alushina, great to have you talk to us about this from Berlin.